Hello everyone, it's Dip Metaverse back with another video. I took a few week break. I was traveling a little bit, and I wish I could do that for the rest of my life. But who knows? Maybe if Jasmy hits a couple of dollars, then I'll be able to retire and live the life that I truly want. But just a couple things to go over, some housekeeping. So if you like my research, please hit subscribe. It means a lot to me to do this, and I have fun doing research on Jasmy. I love this coin quite a bit. And also, if you could follow me on Twitter, my username for both my YouTube channel and Twitter is the same. It's Dip Metaverse. That's DIPMEHTAVERSE. It's Dip Metaverse. That's a pun off of my actual name. But it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and give me a follow on Twitter. So let's get started. Remember, none of this is financial advice, so please do your own research. And the first thing I wanted to go over was somebody on Twitter had asked if there was a list of exchanges that Jasmy was on. And I had posted something that showed 64 exchanges. So if you're looking at this list, there's 65. And the reason being is that as soon as I posted my list, I saw some other Twitter user share that Jasmy was going to be listed on an exchange called Buybox. So it goes to show you that, Jasmy's moving pretty fast, right? If I was able to cover 64 exchanges and then literally, 15 minutes after somebody's like, oh, well, Jasmy's also on this exchange. It's like, man, you're scratching your head, and it's like you always got to constantly update. But I'm going to keep this list up and running since I already laid the groundwork for most of the exchanges, right? And oddly enough, Jasmy's actually been listed on more exchanges so far in this year than last year. So things are accelerating. But one thing I've always been trying to figure out is, and this is a question that I have no answer to, and I'm okay to admit it. I have no problem being vulnerable, but they're listed on all these exchanges, right? And they're listed on Coinbase, they're listed on KuCoin, listed on Binance, they're listed on Gate.io, they're listed on Voyager, they're listed on, I would say, already pretty big exchanges. So I'm trying to figure out why are they going after all these little exchanges? Because it seems like if you wanted to buy Jasmy, like Gate, Voyager, Coinbase, Binance, like they're pretty accessible worldwide, right? So I'm trying to figure out why specifically they want these small exchanges that, like, I'm sure, to be honest with you, I've never heard of SuperX, never heard of StealthX, I've never heard of AOFX, Binance prior to, Jasmy tweeting about it. Like, I'm just trying to figure out why, and, I'm hoping there's some underlying reason where, like, they use Jasmy's, security, and Jasmy's, also making the exchange a customer, so there's a mutually beneficial relationship. But I couldn't find much on that. But any sort of theories that you may have, I'm all game for hearing them. But the next thing I wanted to go over is, I'm sure some people are asking, well, why can't you just look at CoinMarketCap for exchanges? So CoinMarketCap isn't fully accurate, so to speak. One exchange that they don't have information on is Bitpoint Japan, which we obviously know Bitpoint Japan has Jasmy, right? This is Jasmy's first step to getting on the green list and knocking out the other 31 exchanges, right? And if we get those 31 exchanges, that puts us at 96 exchanges for Jasmy, right? That's insane. And the funny thing about it is, like, in Japan, they only have one option, and it's a Japanese coin. So I'm sure they're rethinking the green list after the Luna debacle, where it goes to show you that no coin is necessarily safe. But I do trust Jasmy to the end. I was thinking about when my holding period would be, and I wanted to cut bait with this coin in 2026 because that's when they were expecting to have 107 million users, which is like that's basically everything that they're trying to get. So I think at that point, most of the price action and gains would be realized. But, with all the laws that need to be passed. It might take a little bit longer, but as long as the business is making progress, I don't see a reason to sell. So I'm still bullish, and in the grand scheme of things, what's an extra year? I can wait to live my life of travel and things like that. So, just something to think about. And the next thing I wanted to go over is, it also relates to Luna again. So Japan passes a landmark stablecoin bill for investor protection, right? So this came about because of the Luna stablecoin issue, right, where it tanked. And I know Jasmy is working on a stablecoin and a stable token. The differences, we'll find out. I'm pretty sure Kerr Finance, aka Jesse, aka Keeping It Real Finance, went over this, but I honestly don't remember. But you can watch his video. It was a good one that he posted yesterday night, I believe. So basically, what this tells me, the implications are, one, Japan is really serious about Web3, NFTs, crypto, their digital transformation, etc., right? We've already heard them talk to other governments, right? They talked in UK, and they said, look, we want to be the leader in this space. So if Japan gets these laws right, then they're laying the foundation for other countries to create their laws around stablecoins, Web3, NFTs. And basically, Jasmy is the guinea pig in all of this. They're going to be the ones to experiment. And they've already, in the beginning, they failed, right? They didn't get listed and approved from a compliance standpoint in Japan. But what did they do? They tried again, and look at what happened. So they're trying to be, I'm not going to sit here and say they're trying to be Bitcoin or Ethereum, but they're trying to be a coin that is a standard across the world, right? And the way to do it is, you got to keep the government happy, right? It's a lot easier to do business when the government is on your side. If you look at Tesla, for instance, right? In 5 to 10 years ago, they got the government to give out all these subsidies for electric cars, right? So if you wanted to buy a $70,000 Model S with all of the benefits that you would get, at least I'm from New Jersey, I know with the benefits you get from New Jersey and the federal government, it would cost about $58,000. And on top of that, you're saving on gas, right? So it's actually, I know it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as you would think because they're trying to incentivize you, right? So Tesla had the government on its side. Even while they got rid of, having actual car dealerships, right? And salesmen and things like that, they eliminated that aspect of it, right? Because it cuts into the price and they sell everything the way they want. And, to have the government on your side is pretty dang important, I would say. And, another thing about having the government on your side, specifically with Japan, Jasmy is the first coin that's compliant in Japan, as everybody knows, not to beat a dead horse here, but like other companies, they could have just gone to another country and done this. They didn't. And some of the reasons why one of the major reasons why other companies or crypto projects left Japan is because of the taxes, right? And both leading political parties in Japan are in favor of lowering taxes. They're not going to make them zero, which it's not necessarily fair, but to make them fair enough to where people don't run off and you're losing talent, especially when you want to be a leader in Web3, it's kind of contradictory. So, the government is doing the right thing. Now, obviously, it takes some time for laws to get passed, but it's not a big deal. It's gonna happen, right? As long as all this stuff happens before my 2026 time horizon, I don't care. Because the way I see Jasmy, and this is not financial advice. I think it's gonna, if you've heard of a hockey stick curve, so it's gonna remain flat and down for a little bit, which I think we're in that phase, and then it's going to just shoot up. I really don't think it's gonna be a gradual increase. I think once everything is ready, you're just gonna see it. There's gonna be one day where you're going to sleep and you wake up, and then you're like, wow, Jasmy's up a lot. What happened, right? And I'm thinking it's not something you want to sleep on. And that's why, at this time, I just keep accumulating. I want to, I have a certain goal in mind, and I want to get there, and I think I can see this thing going to a few dollars by 2026, because we also do have another Bitcoin bull cycle. So at that point, I would expect Bitcoin to at least hit 100K, and the higher Bitcoin goes, it gives the other altcoins an excuse to go higher as well, right? Because nobody's going to pass Bitcoin, not now at least. Maybe if crypto's around long after we're gone from this earth, then maybe some other coin will emerge as the top dog. But it's pretty challenging for another coin to pass Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the higher they go, the better of a chance it means that we'll go up as well. And that's something that's incredibly exciting. So moving on. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is yes, the Jasmy Metaverse launch on July 15th. So this is pretty exciting. I'm pretty it's good that Jasmy's getting listed on all these exchanges, but it's also even better to hear other news outside of that. So it says in preparation for the Jasmy Metaverse launch, Metaverse 2.0 launch on July 15th, right? So one thing that I found really interesting, it's not even about the Metaverse, it's about who's posting it, right? Binance Academy. So the reason why I find this interesting is I think in terms of a project's relationship with a certain exchange, I mean, obviously Binance is the top dog worldwide, but I think Jasmy is fairly, I would say they have a more than a positive relationship with Binance. Like, I think their relationship extends beyond simply being a project that is listed on Binance. So, the reason why I think that is, let's go here, right? They have a What is Jasmy, right? This was released, in the past month, and it was updated, right, in May. And I know they do this for other tokens, but I would think that they would only do it for tokens that they really believe in or they invest in. And we'll get to that in a second. So, they go over some use cases of Jasmy. Obviously, by the way, I highly recommend reading this article. So you have rewards for Jasmy games, right? These games, I'm sorry, I'm holding Jasmy to an incredibly high standard, because if these guys came from Sony, there's no excuse. That is Sony's bread and butter. These guys have to know how to make good games. And another interesting one is purchasing Mystery Blind Box Foundry Heroes. That's a pretty specific case to where that they are banking on it being pretty big. You can buy in-game assets from the Metaverse, which, again, I'm hoping those games are that dang good, because if they're not, I will be disappointed. I'm not much of a gamer, but I want the rest of the Jasmy community to be happy, and I want them to use this stuff, and I'll give it a shot as well, even though it's not necessarily something that I'm interested in. But liquidity mining, token rewards, staking, I cannot wait. As an American citizen, I cannot wait to stake my Jasmy. I've been waiting way too long for this, but that remains to be seen right now. And then the obvious one, data lockers, right? Data lockers for holding Jasmy. So sorry, my computer is on low battery. But anyway, we can move on. So the next thing I wanted to go over is, this goes back to the Binance Jasmy relationship. So there are 9 tokens supported for Binance Bridge 2.0. And this is a relatively old announcement, 6 weeks, in the world of Jasmy and all the research that a lot of people do. This feels like an eternity ago. But Jasmy's in really good company with Sandbox, really good company with ApeCoin, and really, really good company with Decentraland, right? So I think Binance sees Jasmy as a good coin, right? And I really do believe, and I know people will laugh at me for this one, but Binance closed a $500 million investment fund for blockchain, Web3, etc., right? And I know a lot of crypto projects are Web3, are blockchain, and all that, but I really do think that, that they invested a little bit of money. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say like they invested more than $10 million, but I do think they invested something like 3 to 5 million in Jasmy, and it would not surprise me, but we'll never find out. So unless if they say something years down the road, but the connection between a project and an exchange in this case is a little bit stronger than I've seen with other coins. So that's why, that's just why I wanted to highlight these things. And the next thing I wanted to go over is this one I do need help with. If there are other researchers watching my videos, one, I appreciate that, and two, I didn't know what to make of this, but Japan is taking this whole thing about data seriously, right? It says this article here from Nikkei Asia, which is a news outlet that people cite quite often. Japan takes a step toward enormous bank of personal data, right? That in and of itself is bullish. And, sorry about that. So this article was February 2017. So it says Japan is ramping up efforts to create a data bank that stores a range of personal information, ranging from social network profiles to online shopping histories, on a trial basis. That'll be launched by the end of the year. So this is like the first step, right? So this is when Jasmy's like, yeah, let's do this. And then the next article or set of things I wanted to go over here. So big data trading platform to launch in Japan next month. This was September 2018. So they were going to go live. It says a private sector exchange facilitating sales of big data will go live on October 1st in Japan, providing a secure venue for businesses to obtain a variety of information across different sectors. So now I know you're thinking it's Jasmy, right? It's actually not. But before we get into that, this company, the platform will initially start with 5 companies selling data, and then travel agency JTB will offer location information on medical facilities that can provide services in multiple languages, as well as data for ATMs and credit cards. ATMs that accept credit cards issued outside of Japan. The company taps into 590,000 pieces of data stored in its proprietary tourism platform, the Japan Voyage Navigator. So this is actually run by a company called EverySense. And now I know you're thinking like, oh my God, competition. Like, what do we do? But you have to ask yourself, right? If data democracy is going to be a real thing, Jasmy cannot be the only show in town, right? There needs to be other companies, because if not, then they're no different from GAFA, right? They're no different from Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, etc., right? So, this was something that I found to be pretty interesting, and they were trying to get roughly 1,000 client businesses in the fiscal year of 2021. I think that was a pretty lofty expectation, but just another thing I wanted to go over with data platforms. So this article came from MITSUI & Co. MITSUI & Co. is a conglomerate, which, if you don't know what a conglomerate is, it's basically a company that invests or has subsidiaries in a bunch of different industries. So one example of that would be like GE. So GE used to be in real estate, aviation, electronics, etc. And like those are completely different things, right? So that's what Mitsui & Co. is. And one thing I wanted to highlight is, it says the Japanese government aims to achieve a super smart society called Society 5.0, right? This article came out, or this publication came out in February 2018, right? So this is, this has been in the works for a very long time, as I'm sure you know, but this is just another lens to look at it from. And it says that in this report, we will look at 3 data distribution systems that have drawn attention recently, right? Data marketplace, Jasmy. Personal data store, sounds like personal data locker, also Jasmy. Information banks, Jasmy, and provide an overview. But we're not going to go over all that. I'm happy to, I'll be posting all this stuff on Reddit. So, happy, you can feel free to take a look there if you're bored on a Saturday afternoon in the spring or early summer. So, now I wanted to go over EverySense. So I actually reached out to them pretending to be a business. Don't hold that against me, but I'm doing this for the Jasmy investors and the Jasmy community, but I actually couldn't find anything. But it looks like this business is still up and running, but I couldn't find much else other than that news. However, I did find out that they're part of this group called the Data Trading Alliance. And the Data Trading Alliance is basically like they're trying to promote like fair shares of transfers of data and things like that. And you have Eversense as the second listed company on this list, right, of 53 orgs. But another interesting thing is that Jasmy's not here. Sorry for the sound, but guess who is? Sony, right? Sony, Kyocera is here. SoftBank is here, right? SoftBank is right here. Kyocera is right above it. So, and then Dentsu. Dentsu is actually another company that is doing data transfers. I think it was in this article. Yes. So it says, going back to the article that I went over with Eversense, it says driving the formation of the exchange is the Japanese government's push to create a data bank that stores a range of personal information, right? So again, the government connection is there. I do think with Kunitake Ando's presence and his illustrious career, that I do think Jasmy is going to be the top dog. I think they're just being a little more patient. But anyway, so push to create a data bank that stores a range of personal information. It says, along with conventional banks, advertising agency Dentsu is a giant in the advertising space, recently decided to enter the business, right? So, and it also says, this system will serve as a shortcut pairing companies that hold data with other businesses in need of that information. It will also add a layer of security on payment transfers, right? So, this is Jasmy has a little bit of competition, and that's okay, right? Because ideally, for a little bit, I would love for Jasmy to be the only ticket in town, but through competition, you can innovate. So it's not a terrible thing, and companies should be able to participate across different platforms because there's going to be different individuals across these platforms, right? Or they might, you can use people across the same individual across multiple platforms. So there's plenty of money to be made. So don't sweat it. But I actually think the competition is a good thing. I don't think it's a horrible thing, but we'll see. So the next couple of things I wanted to go over are yes. So this is just something I wanted to clarify. There's not really news here, but this person posted this on Reddit about 8 hours ago, it says. So it says haha said. I think haha meant is a typo. It's supposed to be hara. But the purpose of IRPR was to show the business model, service development, and distribution of crypto assets of the Jasmy community in an active manner at all times. So just so you know, publicly traded companies, they don't have an IR period. They basically are just doing IR throughout. So Jasmy is just taking the extra step to label this, which whether they labeled it or not, they would be conducting business in the same fashion, right? Like they'd still be getting on all these exchanges. So my advice to you here is to just not worry about whether, we end up having a 75 weeks IR, 100 weeks IR. It really doesn't matter because whatever their business plan is their business plan. And if you're happy with them getting on exchanges, then, you shouldn't really sweat the fact that there's all these titles. So, I just wanted to go over that because they're going to do things the way they want to do it anyway. And, as investors, it's up to us to decide whether we trust them or not. And I do trust them. I do think after this 50 weeks IR, I do think they're not going to call it IR anymore. I think they're going to they're still going to continue getting on exchanges, but they're not going to call it IR anymore because, it doesn't really help them. But moving on. So something that I had posted on Reddit before, but I just went straight to the link. So Jasmy had an update yesterday on the Platinum Data Happiness Discovery Project. Ooh, that's a mouthful. So what they want to do now is they actually want to get participants who agree with the efforts of the interest AI analysis engine will participate in the efforts of the interest AI analysis engine by registering the purchase history data only once during the following period, right? So you're trying to, during this period, June 3rd to the 12th, you're going to upload your purchase history of Amazon and Rakuten from 2019 to 2022. So this is how Jasmy is going to get more data. To my surprise, this is a 1. I think it's good. I did think that they would do this a little sooner, but then again, they probably have devices where they're getting some of this stuff, but then they also want to get this from the folks doing the happiness study. I mean, if you're paying them 10,000 Jasmy, it's kind of fair, especially if you have as high hopes as I do. If this thing goes to $5, that's $50,000, right? Like it's the least you could do for a company. So this is also a good way for them to get new holders. So I'm on board with it, but I just wanted to share this little bit because this was pretty recent stuff. So, and now the last thing I want to do in this video is I want to go over Etherscan. So I don't know if you've seen my previous video where I go over the Jasmy circulating supply, and the video's name is Jasmy circulating supply breakdown of the 30.8 billion, right? So that was around the time when CoinMarketCap had updated their numbers or actually Jasmy told CoinMarketCap what the true number was. Don't give CoinMarketCap credit for anything because in their defense, it is pretty tough to keep track of 19,000 projects. So it just makes sense for the primary source, aka the founders of the crypto project, to tell you what the circulating supply is. But I don't expect Jasmy to update them, every single moment they release coins. And I found out that they've actually released slightly more tokens. The way I found that out is, so I looked at the holders. I downloaded everything into an Excel sheet. And here we go. Okay. So if we look here, this is from my previous, one of my first video that I ever made. So if we look here, right, there's 30.8 billion. I reconciled everything back from here, right? So these yellow coins are the ones that are not in circulation. So every single 500, 400, and $300 million wallet is for the ecosystem. Unless if things changed, it's for the ecosystem. If Jasmy, has a change in their roadmap or their plan that they didn't share with us, then, I'd have to make adjustments. But up to, if there's no change, then this is 100% right. You can go look at the other video. I went through it in excruciating detail, but they're all for the ecosystem. So that means they'll pass through the exchanges first, and then they'll go to, a wallet designated for the project, like a certain project, or just like how like what happened with the Metaverse and so on. So, and then the $800 million wallet that's there is for the funds and institutional investors. So Jasmy actually gave away 12.7 billion of their tokens to investors, and they had allocated 13.5 billion. Okay, so that's here, right? These two wallets add up to 13.5, and that's the total coins, based on Etherscan, right? And then 800 million are still outstanding, so that leaves you with 12.7 billion that were actually given to other investors. So that could be part of that could be Binance and not necessarily held in a Binance wallet, but we don't know. But I do believe some of it was. But anyway, so what I did here was I compared the amount of 500 million, 400 million, 300 million wallets, right? So I looked at when I did my YouTube video last, and I just counted off how many there were, right? So as of May 9th, there were 20 million, but now there's only 19, right? So what does that tell you? That means one of the wallets was emptied out. And that means 500 million tokens were added to circulation. Then the 400 million wallets, nothing changed. So what does that tell you? Nothing changed, right? And now, lastly, you have 300, your 300 million token wallets, right? There were 8 as of the last time I had done this video. And then there's 7. So this tells me that 800 million tokens were added to the exchange, making a new circulating supply number of 31.6 billion tokens. So 800 million tokens were added. And if you need any sort of clarity on how I got to these numbers, you can go back to the other video. You can watch it at 2x speed. I speak kind of slowly because I want to make sure everybody understands. And like I went through it pretty carefully, and I'm happy to send this spreadsheet over and give updates like on a monthly basis, because I'm sure it doesn't really make sense to do it every week because a lot of times things won't change. But some other Redditors had pointed, or YouTubers had pointed out that one of the wallets was emptied, and I was like, all right, let me just check the whole thing just to make sure. And I was able to find out that 31.6 billion tokens is the new number. Don't expect CoinMarketCap or Jasmy to update that right away, because the fact that look, there's 30.8 billion. 800 million tokens is not that big of a deal anymore. Had this been when we were at 4.7 billion tokens, that's a pretty sizable increase, right? So it's not a big deal anymore. The worst, I think, in terms of dilution is over. And this is just them making progress on the business and distributing coins to exchanges, right? So, I'm happy with it. If this is the only representation of progress we have. So, again, I just counted them off. I compared them from the previous period, which was May 9th, and I counted how many of each type of wallet was left, and I got the difference, right? So, in a month from now, we'll find out if more coins were in distribution. But that's all I actually have for today. If you have any questions about how I got these numbers or anything else that I addressed in this video, please let me know. I may have gone through it kind of quickly just because there was a lot to cover. But again, please hit subscribe. I like making these videos for you guys, and I think I do post pretty quality stuff. So, it would mean a lot to me if you did that. And also follow me on Twitter. Again, my username on Twitter is the same as the name of my YouTube channel, Dip Metaverse. So yeah, it would mean the world to me, and I will see you guys in either next week or in a couple weeks. So thanks.